Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Perspectives. I'm your host, Patrice Bobo-Miles, and I am so excited today because I have a friend with me here. I have known Danielle for a number of years, and we've had the opportunity to work together in those years. She's got the sweetest spirit, and she's got such a generous heart. And I'm so excited that she agreed to come and be a part of my podcast. So, Danielle, if you don't mind, just take a minute and let everybody know a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I am a mortgage professional. As Patrice said, she and I worked together, known one another for a number of years. I work from home. I've been with Prime Lending for um, 11 years now almost. I love working in the mortgage business. I love just the ins and outs of you just never know what you're going to get when you pick up the phone and somebody emails you. It's like pop quiz time, right? Didn't we all love that back in school when your teacher was like, get out your paper, we're going to have a pop quiz? Well, that's what I basically do all day, every day. I love the mortgage business. I love the individuals that I'm blessed to work with, the company that I work for. I am a mother. I have a daughter. She's 18 and she is sort of in that transitional period where she doesn't really know what she wants to do. And we got some great news this week that she's going to be working at a doctor's office. So she's going to be getting
Wow.
into that professional environment. I'm super excited about that for her and just to kind of see where she goes and grows in her journey as she kind of walks out what we all know is a really scary time in our lives, right? How many of us exactly knew what we wanted to do when we got out of school? Pretty sure we didn't. So I just am so thankful for her. My husband is a licensed clinical and mental health counselor. He and I have been married for 13 years. We met on eHarmony. Yes, it does work for some people. It worked for me. He has three wonderful boys. As a matter of fact, his middle son is getting married this year. And my husband is also an ordained minister, and he will be officiating the ceremony for our son. And we are just so excited for this time in our lives and so thankful to be a part of this today. So thank you for having me.
Lots of transitions. And
Yeah.
I know several years back, and once your kids start growing up and getting out of the house, the years just kind of go. And so, was that just last year or was that like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And so, I know several years back, you and I have both had this discussion, and it's a health journey. We're going to talk a little bit about how health is wealth today,
Yeah.
and I know that you had some challenges, as I have,
Hmm.
with maintaining a healthy lifestyle and just being happy with who you
Yes.
are, where you are. So I would love if you would just give us a little bit of a background on what that looked like for you.
Sure. And I was actually thinking about that this morning, just kind of how long my journey has been, because it has been that. And then why I do what I do and why I don't stop, and how sometimes it's hard to stop. Um, and then sometimes you want to, it's easy. My daughter, like I said, is 18, and I began my journey 20 some years ago. At the age of 23, I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I was tipping the scales at 398 pounds, and the doctor basically looked at me and said if I didn't lose weight, I was going to die. He put me on some fluid medicine, Lasix. I was not hospitalized, but he basically sent me home and said, "This is what you're going to do. I need to see you back in a week. You're in dire straits." And at that time, I was already a professional. Did not. I was married previously to my daughter's father. Sorry, and at that time, just not really healthy. Having come from a background of um, my parents, growing up, not really being that. I guess it was. I don't want to speak in a bad light about my parents. Basically, they did the best they could with me, raising me. We were not rich by any means. We were very poor, and so it wasn't like I knew we were poor. I was loved, but in our family, we ate, and that's it. Just kind of kept going and going and going, and then when I was married to my daughter's father, lots of fast food, lots of things, and then I mean, I didn't know what to do to take care of myself, but that was like a gut punch. And actually, I didn't start losing weight then. I was like, "You know what? I don't know if I want to do this or not." And I did lose 13 pounds the first week. Obviously, I had a lot of water weight and things. He said I was full up to here of fluid. I mean,
Wow.
I failed a breathing test. He put me in this box and had me breathe, and I didn't know that I couldn't breathe, but I found out then that just what dire straits I was in. So it was a journey, and I remember looking down at my stomach one day. I was driving home and just sobbing. And at that point, I had lost about 30 pounds, but when you're 398 pounds, you lose 30 pounds. Can't really tell. I couldn't tell. And just saying, why God? Why me? Why am I here? What do you want me to do? I don't know what to do. I need your help. And and I remember thinking to myself, I'm not going to give up because God's word says that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And believe it or not, well, a year or so went by. I had lost 92 pounds. Then I had a stall for about 4 months, and I thought, now what do I do? Because I'm looking at this insurmountable amount of weight that I need to lose, and then how do I do this, and what do I do? And it was affecting me physically as far as my menstrual cycles and things like that. And I didn't think I was going to be able to have a child. And so losing the weight, I began to then be regulated again. And then she was born in '04, and so I found out I was pregnant with her in October of 2003. And at that point, I had lost about 98 pounds. And so I gained a little bit with her, and then she was born in July of '04. And I continued my journey of just trying to kind of get back to where I was pre pregnancy,
Mhm.
and then not really working out or doing anything. I was just kind of doing what the doctor had asked me to do and cut back on carbs and eat more vegetables and fruits. I mean, honey, I would go to the Bojangles drive-through and get me a biscuit and fries and a Dr. Pepper, and McDonald's was the double quarter pounder extra value meal, whatever, the super size.
Mhm.
And I would take the mayonnaise and the ketchup and mix it up, dip my fries in it, and drink Dr. Pepper and eat. I mean, it was just what I love to do. And so when I first started losing weight, just to back up for just a moment, I remember thinking, I've got to do this my way, because if I don't do this my way, I can't go back, because if I go back, I'm going to die. And so, how could I make my favorite things like cheeseburgers and mac and cheese, right? Pizza. How do
Mhm.
I make those things and then be able to move forward? And so I just kind of, I guess I'm a creative person, and I made some things work that I loved, grilled cheese sandwiches, and just kind of took it from there, and kept the weight off. My daughter's father and I separated in 2007, and then I had still kept 100 pounds off at that point. And then I met my now husband in '08, and then we were married in '09. Of course, you get married and you gain those happy pounds together.
Right.
So then I lost a little bit more weight, but it wasn't until I started working at Prime Lending in 2012 that I really even thought about exercise. I never exercised, I never worked out, and I just had all this hanging skin that was just causing me such pain.
Mhm.
And so I did opt to have skin removal surgery to remove what then was about 12 pounds of skin. When you do outpatient surgery, they're not able to remove more than a certain amount
Mhm.
safely. And I continue to have a few more surgeries as my surgeon worked with me to be able to kind of see what kind of life I wanted to have. However, let's put a pin in that for just a second and say, could I have gained that weight back? Yeah, because our skin stretches out. And
Mhm.
so all these years later, I still have to work at being healthy, continuing that journey, because believe it or not, when I was 398 pounds compared to 160 some pounds that I am now, I'm in more pain now than I was then. Isn't that crazy? Like, you would think, oh,
Mhm.
you've lost all this weight. I mean, just this morning, back pain,
Mhm.
and I still just push through and do whatever I feel like I can do. So in
Mhm.
2012, My daughter wanted to be a part of this Girls on the Run program at her school, great program, where it teaches girls to value themselves for who they are, just to get and move their bodies, that it creates community. And I thought, you know what? A 5K was going to be a part of this. And I said, I'm going to do this with her. And that started my journey of the physical part, the working out part, which then kind of carried forward from there to strength training. And then, I mean, I'm getting older, and so now I have to be really careful because I had injured myself trying to do the crazy stuff. And so now I'm just kind of at a place where I'm still it's crazy because along the way I started one way, but I'm still doing the same things. Kind of got that little backpack and then I put little things in it as I go along. Um, and then I have to modify, change
Mhm.
because I'm choosing. I'm in pain today, but I'm going to move my body today. Or
Mhm.
I may have had what I feel like was a little bit too much to eat last night, or maybe something that just didn't sit well with me, and I just
Mhm.
don't feel well today. But today is a new day. I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm not going to go detoxing, fasting, crazy things like that. That's not for me. That's not going to help me to continue in my journey. So I know there was a lot
No,
there,
it was,
and around we went.
no, the funny thing is I think I followed it. So, in listening to how you grew up in a very loving home, but it sounds to me, and this is really common, when you grow up in a household that maybe doesn't have a lot of money.
Yes.
Um, the unfortunate side of that is that the foods that you can afford to purchase to feed your
Mhm.
family are the foods that aren't necessarily healthy.
Correct.
Right, and, we hear people we've heard stories of communities being in food deserts, but it's and not that you were in a food desert,
Yeah.
but, it certainly it is sometimes cheaper to buy boxed macaroni and cheese,
Yeah.
than it is to buy, a head of lettuce,
Mhm.
tomatoes and vegetables,
Yeah.
and those good healthy vegetables that go
Mhm.
into a salad.
Yes.
And so we get to a place where the foods that bring us comfort
Mhm.
are not necessarily the foods that are good for us.
Yeah.
And being in a position, especially as we get older, um, I've always, and you and I've had this discussion, I've always been a big girl.
Yeah.
Um, I learned as I got older that, whether I was 170 pounds or I
Mhm.
was 240 pounds,
Mhm.
I got to a place in my mind where I recognized that I was still cute.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it was one of those things of like your daughter's program, loving who I was at that time.
Yes.
Because every day we get to wake up and choose the person we're gonna be, right?
For
We
sure.
get to make the choices. Are we going to drink our 60 gallons of water today?
Yeah.
Or are we gonna opt out to have 2 Dr. Peppers
Yeah.
and maybe 2 glasses of water? And I
Mhm.
think that cheeseburger from, I'm gonna say Wendy's, Whataburger, because that's
I'm
where I
gonna
live,
say
right?
McDonald's.
Let's see, I'm gonna say Whataburger because I live in the South. But but it's always a choice.
Yeah.
But the thing with choices is that every day we get the opportunity to make a better choice,
It's a new day.
right? Every day is a
Mhm.
new day. And so I think what I loved part of what you said
Mhm.
was exactly that, is that we can make choices one day, but the choices for that one day don't define who we are as a person.
No.
They don't define whether or not we are committed to what is our health and our growth and our well being.
Yes.
And we get to decide the next day, what am I going to invest in myself? Where am I going to invest in myself in my diet? Where am I going to invest in myself in my exercise?
Mhm.
Where, with what I learned, am I then going to turn around and use that knowledge to invest into somebody else?
For sure. I mean, people ask me all the time, "How'd you do it? How'd you do it? Did you have surgery?" I can't say one thing that I did.
Mhm.
But like you said, I just wake up each day and I say, this is what I'm going to do today. Now, I can tell you things that are important:
Mhm,
rest,
mhm,
hydration,
mhm,
stretching. Um, for people that are just, I have women reach out to me all the time and say, help, I need help, but they have to do the work. I can tell you all day long what worked for me, but
mhm,
you have to love yourself enough to say, I'm going to do this for me. And I'm going to do this one day. And then I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to do this again. And I will be here for you and I will encourage you and I will love you and I will pray for you and I will try to help you as best as I can. But you have to do the work. You have to do the
mhm.
work.
And when you grow up and you're on the heavy side, and I don't care how you want to say it, I never had a problem saying I was fat. And there
Yeah.
are people who are totally, oh my gosh, that is such a critical
I
term.
would
But
always say big boned.
oh no, I
Okay.
just
Like
said fat.
big bone.
I was a big girl. I was
I
curvy. I had a
actually,
lot of this, and I
yeah.
had, a lot down here, but I was healthy. I lifted weights. I was a
Hmm.
cheerleader.
Yeah.
I was very active. I
Hmm.
was just always going to be on the heavy side.
Yeah.
It is just the makeup of my, now, does that, I say that and say when I'm a size 12, I'm that's about as small as I need to get. If I get smaller than that, I don't look good. I don't
Yeah.
look healthy.
Yeah.
But I go back to saying, um, accepting who you are at
Hmm.
that time in that moment. Because
Yes.
when you carry extra weight,
Hmm.
there is some trauma
For sure.
that is attached to what that is.
That's right.
I mean, battling self-confidence, battling
Yes.
self-esteem,
Yes.
battling body shaming. And people, I
Yes.
don't think people intentionally set out to body shame you, but for some people to hear, oh my gosh, if you lost weight, you look so good. I
Oh,
know that that's a very harmless statement, but if
it
you are
hits.
someone who has carried a bunch of weight, you're like,
Yeah. It
you
it
know,
definitely there's a twinge like,
it just kind of goes, "Ugh."
okay.
Right?
Okay. Mhm.
Because again, I dropped 50 pounds. Um, I
That's
had some
awesome.
surgery. I mean, listen, I had some
Yeah.
surgery.
Yeah.
I don't mind, I had some skin hanging down and it
Yeah.
had to go. And,
Yeah.
while I was at it, I decided that the girls needed to be back where they were supposed to
Hey,
be. They
high
did
and
not need
tight.
to
Get them
be
up
in my,
there.
and I'm good with that part of it.
Yeah.
And I obviously, it's nothing I'm embarrassed about, or I wouldn't
Right.
share
Right. Right.
but it doesn't mean that there wasn't a point in time that I really had to battle through
Mm.
my fat demons, right?
Yes. Yes.
you know, and
I still do.
but you always will, as will I, as will
Yeah.
anyone who has had who has had a weight journey, a fat journey,
Mhm.
whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it,
Yeah.
because there's still a part of us that's always going to be that person.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel like I am a better version of who I was,
Yes.
10 years ago when I started at Prime Lending,
Yes.
20 years ago when I was in my 30s.
Mhm.
And hopefully, as I continue to age,
Mhm.
I become a better, more understanding, more accepting, more self-loving person of myself than I was back then. But that trauma
Yes.
is always there.
It's always there.
And there are, whether we want to react to it or not,
Mhm.
those triggers still exist.
Yes, for sure.
So for you, when you feel yourself being triggered, or
Mhm.
find that something has kind of triggered that small overweight child, you know,
Mm.
what do you do in that instance? How do you walk through what that is?
Yeah, first of all, it makes me angry. And so
Mhm.
then I have to think, okay, well, why am I angry? Because I'm going to have to deal with this emotion and I can't let it affect me to the point where it sets me back. Now, sometimes it will. I have to really just get a hold of myself and say, now, I have to talk to myself and say, now, Danielle, they have said something to you, or you may look at yourself in the mirror and feel a certain way. But the fact is that God loves you. He made you for a purpose and he has a plan for your life. And you are going to have to pick yourself up and dust yourself off. And Lord, right now in this moment, God, I pray that you would help me to see myself as you see me, Lord, because your word says that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, that
Mhm.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Greater and he greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And God, I can cast my cares on you right now because you care for me, God. You see me, you love me, you know me. And so really I have got to get myself out of the way and focus my eyes on the one who loves me and sees me like no one else does. And really, the Lord has been my source and my strength and my help. And when those triggers come, I have to just refocus and remind myself whose I am
Mhm.
and that He is the one that is going to continue to sustain me. And although those words are hurtful, my response is always going to be kindness and compassion and generosity and love for the people that intentionally and unintentionally harm me because I have to answer for how I've treated those people.
And there are people who intentionally,
Yes.
set out to try to make you feel, less than.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say that you're probably a better person than I am, at least in dealing with what I know is intentional. But certainly, I feel like we are kindred spirits a lot in
Mhm.
what this journey has been, which is why I was so keen on, having a chance to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
Um, so, I know that you do a lot of outreach
Mhm.
and teaching.
Yes.
So, are you working with adults? Are you working with, young adults? Are you working with children? Because, um, on the money end of things, I work with people and help them working through money traumas, right? Money
Okay.
blocks. And so
Mhm.
what I know is that financial literacy is not something that has been taught,
Yeah.
right? It's just something we've observed.
Mhm.
And it's very similar to what we're talking about here with health in
Right.
this weight journey,
Mhm.
because our responses in how we, interact with food is more of a learned as
Yes.
opposed to a taught. And we
Yes.
don't always learn what's healthy.
That's
And
right.
that's something that has to be taught. So when you're working with people, how does that look for what
Well,
you're doing?
really, so who I work with, I'm not a certified nutritionist, a personal trainer, and I always say right up front now,
Hmm.
please consult with your doctor.
Hmm.
But some of the things that have worked for me are obviously I would want them to let me know what it is that they like. What do you like? Do you not like vegetables? Do you not like beans? What kinds of meats do you like? Because it's not a one size fits all approach to where
Hmm.
what works for me doesn't work for my daughter, doesn't work for my husband, doesn't work for my mom. We're all created differently. And so I really like to get to know who they are and then what things they like and what things they don't like. And then we can build on those things and if they've never been on any kind of a weight loss journey before, we certainly don't want to start out and say, well, you can only do grilled chicken. Like if I find out that they like certain things, we're only going to do steamed broccoli and grilled chicken. No, no, no. Let's start slow.
Hmm.
If you don't move your body, get up, set an alarm clock on your phone every hour, get up and just count 250 steps, walk to your mailbox, walk around in your living room. If you don't drink water, replace one cup of coffee a day or one soda with some water. Let's start incorporating some of those healthy things. If you do want to go for a walk and you don't normally do that, let's set your shoes by your bed in the
Hmm.
morning and let's hey, at least put your shoes on, right? Like let's start breaking some of those old ingrained things like you were saying and let's try to just replace them. My husband calls it cognitive reframing, and so
Hmm.
we're literally reframing the brain for them to take little small steps because we don't want to get overwhelmed, and we also want to know that these are things that are attainable, that we can then, hey, after you've been doing this for 30 days, now let's see what we can do next. Small baby steps. So what do you like, what are you interested in, and then baby steps.
I love that. And interestingly enough, as we start to take on basically what are life changes, right? Because
Yeah,
a diet is a short-term fix.
for sure.
And there's a reason why people don't like the word diet. Number
Yeah.
one, it'll work for a period of time and then it doesn't.
Mhm.
Because if you don't manifest and make the changes
Mhm.
they're going to come and go for whatever period of time it is, or whatever the number is, or whatever
Yes.
that looks like. So, I love the teaching aspect of it.
Mhm.
And then, of course, there's the falling off the wagon with
Yeah.
anything, right? You're going
Yeah.
to take, you're going to take two steps forward, and there's going to be that one step back.
Yes.
So, how do you help people rebound? Because a lot of people, when they take
Mm.
that step back,
Yeah.
um, they can't seem to get back in track with
Yeah.
what, with what they've learned and what the game plan is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? There's nothing wrong. Like God's mercies are new every morning. There's nothing wrong with starting over again today. And the fact that you're thinking about, oh, wait a minute, that's good. And you're not just saying, "Ugh, I'm going to give up. I'm not." No, 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 no. We're going to start over. We're going to start over today. And if you have to start over the next day and the next day, that's okay. At least you're trying. You're
Mhm.
doing it. You're starting. And so let's not think about what we did yesterday. Let's put that uh, behind us. We're going to look at today. What can we do today? And then we're going to get through this day. We're going to do it one meal at a time. We're going to do it one day at a time. And we're not going to quit. We're just not. And I will be here to help you, to support you, to love you, and pray for you, and to help you on your journey as much as I can. But we're just not going to quit. And we're just going to start over just what we did the day before.
I love it. And interesting. It's so funny because as you're talking,
Hmm.
because of course I watched the Super Bowl last night, which I think
Yes, I did too.
over
We
half
went
of
to a
the people.
party, which is where I had a little,
Fun.
too much.
No, no, I
It
didn't
was
do that, but I did
good.
watch it. But Patrick Mahomes said something,
Hmm.
and it was because of course he was playing with a high ankle sprain, so he was injured, and he was asked the question, "What are you going to do differently?" And
Mm,
what he said was, "I'm going to stay in the moment,
mm,
and if something happens,
hmm.
something bad happens, a bad play,
Yeah,
a bad pass, whatever that looks
yeah.
like, I'm going to let that go and move on to
Mm,
the next moment," which is
yes,
really in line with what you just said a minute
yeah.
ago.
Let's put that
And
aside. Yeah.
let's just put it aside. And I work with a lot of people in a lot of different areas. Mortgage lending is quite competitive,
Yes.
for the end of things that I do.
Hmm.
And I win a lot, but I also lose a lot,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
which
Yeah.
is which is perfectly fine. And it's a matter of, because what winners learn, what people who are looking to totally make that transformation, who are
Yes.
wanting to walk into a better version of themselves,
Yes.
want to walk into a better life for
Mhm.
themselves,
Mhm.
whether that's health, whether that's wealth, whether that's spirituality,
Yes.
they have to make the choice to be a winner
Yes.
and take
And
a winner mindset into it.
that's right, and you are uniquely you. There's nobody on this earth that is Patrice. There's nobody on this earth that is Danielle. I am me and you are you. And so I would just say, do not compare yourself. Just don't do it. Comparison sets you up for failure. You can be looking so good, and then you can get on social media, honey, and in 1 second. I had it happen to me at a party last night. And and I was like, "No, no, no. No, no, no. My journey is not her journey. I'm not her. I am beautiful in my own way. She is a different person than me." But for just a minute, I was just like, and I felt some kind of way, but we're uniquely one another. And as women, is it not hard? For it's
Yeah,
hard.
hard
It's
enough.
so hard because like, they tell us what size we should be in. You know what? If you have a scale, throw it out. Stop
Hmm.
looking at the scale. A year or so ago, I started my YouTube channel, and I'm like, what am I going to call this? More than just a number on the scale, because it had been burning in my heart for so long that there's somebody out there that needs to know they're not alone, that they can do this, and maybe
Hmm.
I can help if I can just help one person. And I'm like, it's I mean, I was even thinking about getting on the scale this morning. I'm like, "No, I'm not doing it." And for some people it may be good, but for me it's just a devil, the demon,
Hmm.
and I'm
Hmm.
just not gonna get on it. But, I don't know, I don't wanna compare myself. You're you, I'm me. I'm not that person I saw at that party last night. And I'm more than just a number on the scale. So as women, if I could say anything to get across to women is please, please know who you are. Please know how much you're worth. You are so beautiful. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And you are the only you that you're going to get. And you have to love yourself enough to take care of yourself, to get rest, to get hydration, to eat those things that make you feel good, to move your body, and you're going to inspire someone else. I promise you. It's going to be like that candle in a dark room that you light, and then there's somebody else that's going to light their candle, and then the room, before you know it, it's going to be lit. And we're just going to be that light, and that's what I want to be. I want to be that light to someone that's really in a dark space. And I'm not going to come in and say, I know exactly how you feel, because I don't. I
Mhm.
make him relate to them.
Mhm.
My friend this morning, whose husband was in a really bad car accident, I'm thinking about all these things. How can I pray for her? What can I do? I can just be there. I can
Mhm.
sit with her in her pain. I can hold her hand and I can say, I'm here, because that's what Jesus does. He sits with us in our pain. He loves us. He sees us, and he's there. And so
Mhm.
that's what I want to be and do for someone else.
I'm not even going to add anything else to that. I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
So, guys, we have come to the end of our little conversation with Danielle, and it wasn't little by any stretch of the imagination. You
Lots.
you shared so much, and I know how emotional the journey is and can be.
Yes.
It is not easy. The body dysmorphia, learning how to not compare yourself to somebody else,
Yes.
really doing the work so that you learn how to love who you are at
Mm,
every stage, at every day,
that's right.
and recognizing what you bring to the table and what your real value is,
Your
whether it's
worth.
loving on people, praying on people,
Yes.
whatever that gift is. And
Yes.
we all have a gift that we can bring out into the world. So
Mhm.
thank you so much
Thank
for
you for
sharing
having
so
me. It
much
was
of
my
your
pleasure to be
heart.
a part. Thank you.
I was thrilled when you said you would do this. So, guys, this is Perspectives. So, I'm going to ask if you've listened, drop some comments. Let us know what you think of the conversation. Certainly, I have put some contact information in for Danielle. I don't know if she's taking on any clients right now. So, that's a conversation I'll have after this podcast. And certainly, I hope that you take a moment to subscribe and share. So thanks so much for dropping in, and I am looking forward to seeing you on our next episode of Perspectives.